in that space.
Fringe don't as a pejorative.
Not as a pejorative.
Yeah.
People on the outside
Correct.
of the spectrum of thought.
Correct. Yeah.
Non-main party people.
Yes.
Okay. So what do I think? If I had to pick it, and I get why you mitigate it because it's more than this, but if I have to pick a pivot point, it was the inflation narrative. Because what happened was the left got caught in a space of trying to convince you that you weren't paying more for things and that wasn't really a problem. And that's a very tricky space. I would have a famous conservative come on every week named Bill O'Reilly. And his analysis would begin and end with the gas pump in the grocery store. And I'd say, yeah, but what about this? He said, gas is higher than it was. Groceries are higher. Rent, mortgage, higher. There's your nut. That's your nut. And we haven't even included healthcare costs yet, which also went up. So when all of those things are worse now, and they're telling you that the guy where they were better is the problem, it doesn't compute. That's what I thought was a big pivot point. And of course, there are 100 other things that went into it. Jordan Peterson's right. There's never a single factor explanation for a complex situation. That to me,
but we can pinpoint causes set in motion for sure.
They couldn't get away from that reality.
Let me ask this question, Rob. Can you pull up the one clip on CNN where this guy is explaining men competing in women's sports? For me, I think one of the things, based on this was prompted based on what you guys are saying right now. One of the things is how terrible the argument of the left was for the last specifically 4 years. It's been bad for 8 years, but 4 years was a little bit ridiculous. So I'm watching this thing here. I'm like, okay, CNN, they're having a conversation about who to blame. And this guy is making a very, very logical. Last night, I'm at the training with my son in the soccer. It's 9 o'clock. I'm there with the two trainers. One guy comes up who's a agent. He's here from London. And another guy who's a guy that played for Miami and Inter Miami, and he's not somewhere else. We're standing there talking. Guy comes up to me. He's on the tennis field. He says, I know this voice. I said, yeah. He says, you're Patrick. I said, I am. He says, I watch you all the time. I said, that's great. He says, I don't agree with you. I said, really? Yeah. I said, tell me who you voted for. He said, I voted for Kamala. I said, really? Tell me why you voted for Kamala. He says, well, I just think Trump, he's just like, he's got the TDS. And I'm like, okay, fine. But when it came to family, he's talking to me with his 3-year-old son on his shoulder. And in this argument right here, you lose that guy. Where that guy sits there and says, I don't agree with this guy. Rob, can you go ahead and play this clip?
The families out there who don't believe boys should play girls' sports.
They're not boys. I'm not going to listen to transphobia at this table. I am not going to listen to you call a trans girl a boy.
Are you going to allow me to finish my explanation?
When you use a word that's a slur, I'm going to interrupt. That's not how it is. They're not boys.
But watch what he says. Watch what she says to him.
I'm not going to sit there and listen to that.
Let's reset for a second because, look, this is a really heated issue, right? And sure, Michael, I know you. I know that you understand that people have different views on this.
So what?
I think out of respect for Jay,
out of respect for what?
Try to talk about this in a way that is respectful.
What do you mean? So let me rephrase this since I'm being targeted here.
I don't. Just to be clear, you are not being targeted.
Of course he is.
I'm specifically saying that I know that you are not intending to be transphobic.
It's called common sense.
But
I'm not calling you transphobic. I'm saying you're using a phrase that you know.
So the way regular people interpret it,
that's not regular people. That's not regular people. There's no consensus that these are actually boys. This whole thing about trans girls is a canard. We're talking about a tiny, tiny sliver of the population.
That may be the
and we're
case,
using
but
that
my point in terms
to take
of
away
its
healthcare from
effectiveness.
thousands of people.
Hold on, just get to your point.
My point in terms of its effectiveness. Regular people with children look at these things and they say, you know what, this is a bit too far. I do not agree with this. I don't like this. I think Democrats are going way too much to the left on social issues.
As exhibited by the interjection from Jay Michelson.
A lot of families believe that. You may disagree with that reality, but that's why Republicans kept running those ads over and over and over again. Says. Because they saw the metrics suggested that they were working.
In those ads over and over again and using rhetoric like you just used, saying this is boys playing girls sports.
It is.
First of all, we're talking about people in the entire country.
So, Charlie, you've not seen it. So,
no, that's
raw
remarkable.
reaction. Go ahead.
I mean, but rarely are you able to then see the contention and the point proved in one clip. So Shermichael is saying, one of the reasons why Democrats are failing is because boys are in women's sports. And the guy then says, no, you have to stop doing that. He was doing real-time speech police, real-time thought interruption of a very valid point, by the way, that Shermichael is making. And yes, let's just be very legitimate here. There are men in female sports. Just ask Riley Gaines. It is happening every single day. It's happening at the biggest possible level. It's happening even at the Olympics. It's happening all across the board. And it is something that Donald Trump's most effective political advertisement this cycle, and Susie Wiles deserves such credit for this and her entire team because they trust their instinct. It was a two-sequence ad. They did A and B. The first one is where they showed Kamala Harris sitting down with a trans activist in California where she was bragging that illegals got taxpayer-funded gender reassignment surgery. I mean, just like and bragging about it.
Yep.
Then they ran another ad of Charlemagne from the Breakfast Club reacting to that and basically saying, Kamala Harris is for they, them, Donald Trump is for you. And they went all in on that ad. Now, what is it about that ad? Of all the stuff.
I saw that on the Yankees game. I saw it on the playoffs game. It was everywhere.
But hold on a second. I got to disagree a little bit with Bill O'Reilly here, based on what you said. It wasn't just groceries and gas, because the Trump campaign spent $75 million on a non-grocery and gas, because that ad struck down to a chord that was Kamala Harris's weakness. She is this radical ideologue from California who will pander to foreigners, not Americans, with the most wild, abstract left-wing ideas, and then incorporated in that, oh, by the way, she's also for they, them. So anyone who's dealing with that kind of HR policing in the corporate life, it's kind of a little trigger. And they even said in the ad that Kamala supports men and female sports. I mean, it hit all the points in 30 seconds. And what did you just say, PBD? Where did they place that ad? The brilliance of the Trump campaign. They only ran it on NFL football and the World Series and male-dominated media. They didn't run that on Lifetime. And that's why Donald Trump did historically well with young male voters.
Yeah, look, this is a complex situation. It resonates easily. Having a black guy say it, Charlemagne the God was a force multiplier in that regard as well. But look, the Democrats lost because they underperformed. All right, that is a really important thing to remember, because what does that tell you? It tells you they didn't get their people out. When you look at where Trump grew, he grew obviously with people who didn't vote for him before. So something changed in this election that made people stay home, and some of them who did go out went out for him. I think the economics are a big part of that.
Of course. No, I'm just saying that's an example.
Yeah,
that it's
this
not
is
a complete picture, though.
Here's my problem with this issue, and I welcome this. I say all the time, you're not going to get a lot of parents to vote for you when you say it's okay that a guy my size is playing girls volleyball in high school. They don't like the idea. Okay. Does it happen a lot? No. Does it happen? Yes, obviously. We're talking about it. I am worried, though, that there is an offset on the issue, which is what happens most with the LGBTQ plus community.
You forgot IA.
IA. I have a problem with that. I get yelled at for this all the time.
Two-spirit.
Whatever it is, okay, I'm okay with all of it.
You got to get the whole thing.
I know, because I get yelled at when I don't, but I'm not missing it on purpose, okay? My point is this. What happens to them most...
It's so totalitarian.
Well,
it is, because if you miss the acronym, you're a hater.
That's right. That's a mistake. But two things can be true at once. What happens to that community most is that they're discriminated against. And I'm worried about the gay kid, the trans kid that is living in a real profound state of fear, and people are hurting them. That happens a lot. Now, is the correction...
What are you talking about, Chris?
Listen, people target those people, and they get bullied, they get beat up.
Christians